42-year-old David Thompson and his wife Lisa, when they experienced the greatest humiliation of their lives at Barclays Bank that day, no one dared to help them. But a man who emerged from the crowd intervened in the situation, and when bank manager Jonathan Harris learned who he was, he nearly had a heart attack. Because that man was Keir Starmer, and the events that began that day caused all of Britain to confront its financial injustice. In Canary Wharf, considered the heart of London, among the glass and steel giants rising between skyscrapers, Barclays Bank's main branch stood as the prestige center of one of Britain's most powerful financial institutions. Located on the 15th floor of the 40-story building, this elite branch was a special banking center that served only high-income clients and never accepted ordinary people. The branch's interior architecture symbolized privilege itself. Floors made of Italian marble, crystal chandeliers, walls decorated with art pieces brought from around the world. VIP customer lounges, each resembling luxury hotel lobbies, furnished with mahogany furniture and leather armchairs. This wasn't just a bank branch, it was a status symbol for the wealthy. The general manager of this prestigious branch was Jonathan Harris, 48 years old, who had graduated first from London School of Economics and considered himself one of Britain's most successful and visionary bankers. From a wealthy family background in Worcester, Harris had learned the importance of money and status from childhood, viewing empathy as weakness and social responsibility as emotional luxury. Harris's banking career was a 20-year success story. He had started at Credit Suisse, continued at Goldman Sachs, and eventually became Barclays' youngest branch manager. During this time, he had learned to categorize clients by their profit potential and to view emotional approaches as lack of professionalism.
Harris's corner office fully reflected his power and authority. A panoramic view of the Thames River in London, floor-to-ceiling glass walls, handmade Italian leather armchairs, a 150-year-old mahogany desk, and dozens of financial success awards covering the walls. Only clients with a net worth over £1 million were entertained in this office. Harris's secretary, Margaret Wilson, had been working with him for 10 years and knew perfectly well her boss's strict criteria for client selection. For Harris, the ideal client was someone with an annual income of at least £500,000, a credit score above 850, and a portfolio value of £2 million. Anyone who didn't meet these criteria was considered a waste of time. That Wednesday afternoon, Harris was continuing his usual routine, reviewing investment portfolios of high-net-worth clients. On his desk were investment files worth millions of pounds, hedge fund reports, and private banking proposals. At exactly 2:30 p.m., there was unexpected and unwanted activity in the luxurious waiting lounge. 42-year-old David Thompson and his 38-year-old wife Lisa Thompson had approached the reception desk quite nervously and anxiously, requesting an urgent meeting with the manager. David Thompson worked as a senior physiotherapist at Guy's Hospital in the NHS. He had 15 years of experience and provided rehabilitation services to patients who had suffered strokes, heart attacks, and orthopedic surgeries. He was a man who loved his profession passionately, truly valued his patients, and had high social responsibility. His colleagues knew him as Golden-Hearted David. Lisa Thompson worked as a Year 4 teacher at St. Mary's Primary School in the Tower Hamlets area. For 12 years, she had been educating children from mostly immigrant and low-income families at the same school. She would provide extra support to struggling students in the evenings and weekends without any payment. Lisa viewed teaching as her calling.
The Thompson couple's home was in Lewisham, South London, a modest but warm family nest. They had 2 children, 12-year-old Sophie and 8-year-old Ben. The family managed their budget carefully, didn't make luxury expenditures, and prioritized children's education and health. However, 6 months ago, an unexpected event had turned their lives upside down. David's father, 68-year-old Harry Thompson, had suffered a severe heart attack. Harry was a retired bus driver who had trusted the NHS his entire life and had never considered private health care. But due to the criticality of the situation, the need for emergency intervention, and the NHS's heavy workload at the time, they had been forced to go to a private hospital. The 6-week treatment process at Harefield Hospital, triple bypass heart surgery, intensive care, rehabilitation. The total cost had reached £35,000. The Thompson family had spent all their life savings, made early withdrawals from pension funds, used maximum limits on credit cards, and had even been forced to remortgage their home. Now their mortgage payments had fallen behind, even minimum credit card payments had become difficult, and they faced the risk of losing their home. What David and Lisa desperately needed was a £50,000 consolidation loan. This money would both cover the remaining medical debt from his father and bring the mortgage current. Margaret Wilson, the moment she saw the Thompson couple, understood that they were not in the typical Barclays private banking clients category. David's old blazer bought from M&S, Lisa's Zara dress affordable on a teacher's salary, the complete absence of expensive watches, jewelry, or designer accessories, they were the type of clients Harris would definitely not like. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson," said Margaret, trying to maintain politeness but with obvious coldness, "Mr. Harris is extraordinarily busy. Did you have an appointment?"
"No," said David, with barely controlled anxiety in his voice. "But it's an extremely urgent situation. We need an immediate meeting for a loan application." Margaret looked toward Harris's glass-walled office. Her boss was observing this conversation from behind the glass wall, and his facial expression clearly showed he was displeased. Harris came out of his office and looked down at the Thompson couple with an aristocratic manner. From their clothing, body language, and speech patterns, he instantly assessed that they definitely did not fit the client profile. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson," said Harris with glacial politeness but distinctly cold professionalism, "exactly how can I provide assistance to you?" David began to explain the situation, desperation barely hidden in his voice. "Mr. Harris, my father suffered a serious cardiac emergency. We need a substantial loan for life-saving treatment expenses. I'm a senior physiotherapist in the NHS. My wife is a qualified teacher." Harris abruptly cut off David's explanation. "What is your combined annual income, exactly?" "Together, £4,200 per month." Harris's eyebrows dramatically furrowed. This figure was significantly below Barclays Private Banking's preferred client threshold. "Your current credit score?" asked Harris, his tone increasingly stern. David and Lisa exchanged uncomfortable glances. They were worried due to recent financial strain. "We experienced some payment delays in the last 6 months due to my father's medical emergency." "Specific number?" Harris mercilessly pressed. "Approximately in the 590 range." Harris's entire facial expression dramatically changed. This figure was catastrophically below Barclays' high net worth client standard.
"Mr. Thompson," said Harris with an unmistakably condescending tone, "your financial profile is fundamentally incompatible with the clientele our bank caters to. A 590 credit score is completely inadequate for loan approval at an institution of this caliber." Lisa courageously interjected, "But we are completely honest people. We've never deliberately defaulted on any obligations. We're only experiencing temporary hardship due to my father-in-law's medical crisis." Harris dismissively shrugged his shoulders. "Madam, banking is purely a mathematical business, not emotional considerations. We conduct risk assessments. Your profile, unfortunately, falls in the high-risk category." "So exactly what course of action do you recommend?" David desperately asked. "I suggest you find a financial institution at a more appropriate level for you. Perhaps a community bank or credit union would be better suited to your circumstances." These words profoundly hurt the Thompson couple. Harris was treating them like second-class citizens. "Mr. Harris," said Lisa, her eyes filling with tears, "we've been paying taxes for over 20 years. We contribute to the community. Simply because we're in temporary financial difficulty? That's not my concern," Harris definitively responded. "Banking is not a charity organization." At exactly this moment, other clients in the waiting area were intently observing this heated discussion. Most were maintaining uncomfortable silence, not daring to courage to intervene. Among them, a middle-aged, sharply dressed man named Keir Starmer was carefully monitoring the situation. Starmer had come out of a crucial party meeting at Westminster and had become an unexpected witness to this distressing scene in the bank while heading for his next appointment in the city center. Starmer, observing the Thompson couple's obvious desperation and Harris's blatantly discriminatory attitude, decided immediate intervention was necessary. "Excuse me," said Starmer, firmly approaching, "but exactly how can proper assistance be provided to these people?" Harris turned, startled. "This is none of your concern, sir. This is a private client consultation."
However, there's clearly a humanitarian situation here. This couple is obviously experiencing extreme distress. Harris reacted defensively. "I don't know exactly who you are, but this is strictly a banking procedure." Starmer authoritatively introduced himself. "Keir Starmer, Labour Party leader." Harris's face instantly drained of all color. Learning the exact identity of the person facing him had completely shocked him. I'm simply implementing standard banking procedures," he stammered, immediately shifting to defensive mode. "Do your procedures fundamentally conflict with humanitarian values?" The Thompson couple had become simultaneously hopeful with Starmer's unexpected intervention, but also concerned about the situation escalating. "Mr. Starmer," said David, respectfully but nervously, "we're simply attempting to obtain a reasonable loan for my father's life-saving treatment." Starmer carefully listened to the story and firmly addressed Harris. "This couple are citizens actively serving the community and paying taxes. They're experiencing a family medical crisis. Doesn't the banking industry possess social responsibility?" Harris had become increasingly uncomfortable. "Sir, banking primarily involves risk management." Risk management cannot completely exclude humanitarian values. During this heated discussion, other high-net-worth clients in the waiting lounge were also following the conversation with fascinated attention. After discovering Starmer's exact identity, they began to demonstrate significantly greater interest in the situation. Starmer decisively took out his phone and immediately contacted the Financial Conduct Authority. "Yes, I'm observing a potential discrimination case at a bank branch." Harris entered a panicked state. "Mr. Starmer, please, let's not excessively escalate this matter." "Unfortunately, it's too late, Mr. Harris. This incident is now officially documented." Starmer additionally promptly shared the situation on social media. Right now, at Barclays branch in Canary Wharf, an NHS employee and qualified teacher couple are being blatantly discriminated against simply due to inadequate credit score. Hashtag financial discrimination. Hashtag banking inequality. This social media post became a viral sensation within minutes. The hashtags Thompson family and banking discrimination immediately began trending. Within hours, senior Barclays executives convened an emergency meeting. An immediate credit review process was initiated for the Thompson couple, and loan approval was granted within 24 hours. But the real impact was experienced in the national media. Harris's discriminatory behavior was extensively criticized in all major news outlets. That evening, Starmer delivered a passionate speech at Westminster. The treatment experienced by the Thompson family is a perfect example of Britain's systematic financial inequality.
Major banks cannot serve exclusively wealthy clientele while excluding ordinary working families. This pivotal incident became the initial catalyst for the Fair Banking Act legislation. Starmer's proposed bill included comprehensive provisions, strict prohibition of income-based discrimination, specialized loan programs for public service workers, evaluation criteria beyond traditional credit scoring metrics, mandatory equality training for bank managers, customer treatment standards enforcement mechanisms, community banking obligations for major institutions.
3 months later, following widespread public pressure and regulatory investigation, Jonathan Harris was forced to submit his resignation. He was removed from his senior management position, and an effective ban was imposed from the banking industry. The Thompson family successfully obtained the necessary loan, financed Harry's complete medical treatment, and prevented home foreclosure. David witnessed his father's full recovery, and Lisa ensured the continuity of their children's education. 1 year later, David and Lisa gratefully visited Starmer at his Westminster office. Harry had completely recovered, and the family was financially stabilized. "That day, we didn't just obtain a loan," said Lisa with emotional appreciation. "We restored our human dignity and experienced equal treatment with the financial system." "You demonstrated to me exactly what authentic banking represents," responded Starmer thoughtfully. "Providing genuine service, not practicing discriminatory exclusion." Following the parliamentary approval of the Fair Banking Act, approximately 25,000 working families achieved access to equitable credit opportunities in the first year. The Thompson family's experience had become a catalyst for national banking reform. Additionally, community banking initiatives were established, specialized financial products were developed for public sector workers, and robust penalty systems were implemented for discriminatory practices. This transformative story demonstrates that financial power cannot be above humanity. The discrimination experienced by the David Thompson family directly contributed to the birth of groundbreaking legislation that made Britain's banking system fundamentally more equitable. Harris's elitist attitudes ultimately contributed to his own downfall, while the Thompson family's resilience and Starmer's intervention created lasting change for national financial justice.